We have a framework of what's good, what's bad, what's helpful for us and what's not. And we have our sense of responsibility and we do what works. Our emotions come and make things more interesting. Pressuring someone. I'm sure I've done it from time to time unintentionally, but I really try not.
Tristan, I want to ask you about masculine leadership because I do, think there's a lot of, hype around toxic masculinity. And I think guys are copying quite the raw end of the stick at the moment. Did you want to share your thoughts on masculine leadership with us?
From a mind that didn't embrace it, understand it, or know how to use it, it feels like magic. The number one thing that the world is missing right now is
Hello and welcome to the Real Biz Life Chronicles, where we discuss all things business, branding and life from the Horizon Digital podcast recording studio here in Perth. I'm your host, Tracy, the founder of Design Studio Perth. And because Design Studio Perth is dedicated to helping business owners grow with distinction through captivating branding and design, we're offering all our listeners a free brand discovery. So if you find yourself frustrated with your current branding and marketing and aren't too sure where to next, use a link in the show notes below to book in a time to have a chat. Now, I don't know about you, but I find the best conversations are had over a great cup of coffee. And so the coffee for each episode of the Real Biz Life Chronicles is brewed for us by no other than the legends at Cuppa Cartel. They're fueling great conversations, one cuppa at a time. Now, the Real Biz Life Chronicles is on a mission to become one of Australia's leading business podcasts, but in order to do that, we please need your help. If you do enjoy today's episode, we please ask that you like and subscribe to our channels below, or simply share this episode with a fellow business owner who is doing one of the hardest things in the world, building a business. Now, if there is a question you'd like us to ask our guests, please feel free to pop it in the comments section below, or simply send us an email at info@therealbizlifechronicles.com. He's the guy people go to when they have everything on paper but still feel lost. He didn't start out trying to be a guide for purpose-driven entrepreneurs, but after a decade of coaching, facilitating, and fumbling through his own ego, he found something deeper, a calling to help people come home to themselves. Call him what you want, a spiritual Sherpa, conscious capitalist, or the barefoot business coach. He's the one who holds a space while you crumble, then gently challenges you to rebuild with intention. Clients describe him as present, bold, and loving. He's described himself as someone who cries most days, loves fiercely, and makes more mistakes than you think. And this isn't the first time he's been on the show. I enjoyed our conversation so much that I had to have him back on again. Last time we cracked open a few doors, this time we're kicking them wide open. He never shies away from the messy middle, especially when it comes to spirituality, marriage, and what it really takes to stay aligned in business and in life. This one dives deep. It's bold, unfiltered, and full of the kind of truths most people avoid. Expect stories that stretch your thinking, challenge your ego, and make you feel seen. From the moment I met him, I knew this was a conversation worth having. Tristan Scifo, welcome to the show.
Tracy, that was indulgent and lovely to hear. I'm like, I want to meet this guy. Who is this person you're describing?
Oh, it's so good to see you again. I can't believe it's been a year and a half since we had our first episode.
Yeah, I know. With your personality, I don't know how I went without you this
Oh,
last 18 months.
Thank you so much. Tristan, you're a man learning to love and be loved. What does that look like in your life right now? And can I just say, since I last saw you, your energy is like right up there and I'm loving it.
Oh, that's cool. Look, we're in a good spot at the moment. I think when we spoke last time, things were good on the surface, but a lot was bubbling under the surface. And to be honest, the end of 2024, probably 6 months after we hung out last, was a very tough time in our family life. So we had a lot of things to work through in my marriage in particular, in our whole family, had to go through a lot of things with our kids as well, which is always heartbreaking when your kids have to see a lot of stress and pain.
Yes.
You got to help them deal with their own emotional responses to what they've had to deal with. That was really hard for me. And through most of it, I was like in do my best to help, problem solve, strategize mode, right? But I wasn't really changing anything myself. I was just trying to be helpful. And then by about February this year, it got to a point where I had to change something more significant about the way I operated. So I definitely, through a few chats with some mentors, I changed the way I operated within my family life and probably the way I thought about myself and others in a meaningful way. Primarily, I changed the way I thought about my relationship with my wife and how we operated together as a team. And that's really helped. like,
Yeah.
like, not all of a sudden, it was like it changed the trajectory from getting harder and more challenging to getting better. But it's been like a slow slog since February this year. And I got to say, it's brought a lot of business success that I didn't expect.
Awesome.
And I feel more energized. I feel more confident, and I'm definitely more lighthearted because there's less stress going on in
Yeah.
family life than ever was. That's a really nice perk.
I remember you touched on it briefly last time you were on the show, and I just want to say good on you for still showing up because I mean, you briefly touched on certain things, but I didn't realize you had so much going on.
Oh, I probably didn't realize either.
Yeah.
That was
Ah.
part of it. I mean, I always have been largely ignorant to the emotional undercurrents, right? I get
Mm.
certain insightful glimpses of people's emotions, particularly when I'm in a working context and I'm working with someone who I don't know. It's not a closeness. I have quite a beautiful empathy sometimes. But when it comes to my personal relationships, look, I don't know if I shared with you last time on the show, but I would increasingly identify myself as on the autism spectrum, ASD.
Yes,
I know
I
that's
think you did
pretty popular these
mention.
days,
Mm.
but I've found a broad community of a bunch of these. They call them like level one or type one ASD. Kind of like you wouldn't notice it on the surface, but if you
Sure.
fall in love with them, watch out. You got some pain coming. So if any wives out there who've married one of me's,
Yeah.
um, there's some interesting things. I'm still kind of learning like the shape of it, but what I understand is that we all do some things quite similarly. So one of them is that we show pretty well up front. We're very charming. We typically remind our spouse of their father or someone that they are
Sure.
fond of, right? But we're also very much focused on winning them over, and we might be really poetic or romantic. That was sort of things I was doing. And then as soon as we get married, it's like the mission is accomplished because we're very fixated on our mission and our projects, our special interests. That's the main thing that gets us going. And it's not as if we don't care about it anymore. It's just that project's done. And now we have whatever our special interest is that we
Mm.
focus really heavily on. And we don't have this deep need for emotional connection all the time. That's not how we operate. Meanwhile, our beloved spouse is like deeply hungry for proper connection. And they're like,
Yes.
where did you go? Like, Buster, what's happening? And so we've been married for 12, 13 years now, my wife and I. For the last 13 years, from her perspective, the experience has been just like this season of deprivation, increasing deprivation, that she's been discontented by, and I've been relatively content by, right?
Sure.
And I've known her frustrations and what she's voiced on the surface, but undercurrent, like what's actually being felt, I didn't have a good read of. I couldn't really empathize. I couldn't really understand her perspective, and that hasn't changed too much. I only have slightly better understandings of it, but I do feel more capable to help her. I feel like I've got
Great.
some of the tools to actually help us meet her needs, and make it a bit more balanced in our relationship. Because that's one thing I also learned that more often than not in these like ASD slash non ASD relationships, generally the guy is more content and the
Mm.
girl's like sometimes literally traumatized by the whole ideal. There's literally got a label
Right.
for when a woman goes through this pattern and um, she feels like she's pretty much been ripped off by life. It's called Cassandra syndrome, if you want to get a label to it.
Sure.
And reading that was really confronting. Like, oh, this is like a real thing. A lot of women go through it, and I'm totally part of having created this experience for Renee.
And can it work the other way as well? Can women have it? And then,
Yeah, totally. You can have an
yeah.
ASD wife with they call it NT, like a neurotypical husband. Um, and it's not exactly the same because generally women are more craving of a relationship than a man anyway. So when
Yes.
it's man to the woman, it's more pronounced, but it definitely can
Mm.
go the other way as well. No question.
Interesting. So it's kind of you borderline on sort of or on something.
Yeah, I don't really understand that. Like I I can see my patterns lean towards the autism side, no question. I'm hyper
Mm.
intense. I stick to one thing for a very long time. I'm still wearing the same backpack that I got given 7 years ago. When I was given it, I didn't want to wear it for a year, just sat in the cupboard.
Oh,
And then
sure.
eventually I started it, and now it's falling apart, but I won't let go of it. And it's
Got
the same with
it.
a lot of stuff. I wear the same black t-shirt and black pants, but not the exact same t-shirt, but like I have an outfit of nine black
Sure.
t-shirts and two black pairs of pants and three black
Right.
pairs of shorts. And that just
Yes.
keeps things really simple because I don't want to put energy into that. And to me, that's normal. I wouldn't
Yeah.
even think or care about diversifying. I wouldn't have thought that's an autistic thing. And it doesn't have to be.
Mm.
But when you get a whole bunch of ASD guys in a room, they're all going to have very similar experiences around stuff. They're just not
I
interested. It's not
see.
important for them. They don't care or feel for it. And the painful thing is that I'm not craving deep connection on a natural basis in my intimate
Mm.
relationships. It's not something I go hungry for. I'm looking for intrigue and excitement and understanding and learning. And if you and I have this great discussion right here, like that ticks the box for me. We don't have to get super intimate for it to be exciting
Yes.
for me, which is fine for one-offs.
Yeah.
But then when you want to spend your weekends together and you want to go for like 60 years together, it's like, oh, hang on, buddy.
Yeah, it's a different ball game.
Different ballgame. But not for me. It's the same
Yeah.
ballgame for me.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting because, some couples would just part ways and kind of just be like, well, meh, it didn't work. Like that was that. But it sounds like you guys are really doing, and I know we spoke about this briefly last time, you guys are really doing the hard work and that self-discovery to make sure that your marriage lasts. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, I think you're right. And I'm so grateful for that, Tracy. Like that's
Mm,
my uh value set, that's my intention. I believe there's no single better catalyst for growth and health and fulfillment than to take that path. That's my understanding of myself,
mm,
right? But I can't force anyone else to take the same path. And what I've understood this year is that whilst it feels really quote unquote easy for me, because it just feels easy.
yes.
Most things feel easy for me.
Mm,
Um, I know more objectively than before that it doesn't feel easy for Renee. It probably is much harder for her to stick with this
sure.
thing than it is for me,
Mm.
even though we're both doing it, right? We're both committing to it. And my hope is that she gets like better rewards as a result. It's more fulfilling or more rewarding. She's not there yet. Like she's had to deal with a lot of pain and suffering from her perspective, and it's like early stage turnaround at the moment.
Mm.
So yeah, I'd really deeply pray that there's like beautiful rewards for her as a result. Like, the sort of peace that she can get in her mind, the joy. I hope that I can offer her the connection that she's looking for, or I can help her get it, get that sensation that she's hungering for in
Well,
some meaningful
yeah,
way.
it definitely sounds like you guys are doing the hard work. So I want to go back to February. So,
Mm,
you had quite a dip, and I know sometimes when people are in this dip, they tend to turn to, destructive behaviors or excessive drinking or drugs, or they kind of choose different paths. Can you walk us through, like, what were some of the steps, if you're happy to share, that you took? And, at what point did you notice a turning point? Because sometimes when you're in that dark valley of despair, like it feels like it's never going to end, right? You're in the washing
mm.
machine on turbo, and it feels like you're just going to be spun dry for good. Did you want to take us back?
Yeah, so there was a lot of support from one person, like a mentor figure, like a father figure, I'd say. And he's been someone who's been in the picture for a long time. But there was a week where the Thursday and the Friday night, Renee and I both had like long chats that week. I think it was about 3 hours from 9 till 12 each evening. And
Hmm.
both nights felt like the same conversation, um, constantly hitting dead ends. And Renee's energy was just deflated, gone, nothing left. Um, I'd heard that from her many times before,
Yeah.
but I'd always seen kind of a silver lining, like, okay, we'll work it through. We just got to find another way. Surely there's a solve. There's always a solve for something.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
attitude. But after two nights of it, I was like, maybe it sunk in a little bit, like just feeling where she was at, like, oh, that's heavy. And I was still concerned with some of the tensions that our kids were having to experience as a result of it. And I was like,
Hmm.
something meaningful has to change.
Because how old are
I had
they,
no
Tristan?
intent.
Sorry for our
They're
listeners who
six
didn't
and
see.
three. No, that's fine.
Yeah, so
They're
still
like
very small.
three,
Yeah.
yeah, two beautiful daughters full
Mm.
of joy.
Yes, I think I
You
met
don't want
one
to
last
see this
time.
stress and pain. Yeah, one of them
No.
popped into their picture.
Yeah, join the podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Gotta love that when they come in and go.
Yeah.
Um, but I knew something needed to change. So I wrote a long letter, didn't send it off to my mentor and said, hey, this is what I'm thinking. I've got to have a chat with you. And in the conversation the next day, he helped me come to terms with the fact that I had this expectation that Renee was acting in a a way similar to how I would act. Like
Mm.
I'll explain it. It's going to sound silly, but
No,
it's the
please,
way
not at
it's the way it makes
all.
sense. Okay,
Yeah, of
so
course.
I see we're all as adults, we're moral agents, right? We have a framework of what's good and what's bad, what's helpful for us and what's not, and we have our sense of responsibility, and we do what works. And when we don't, things get harder. When we do things that work, things get better. It's very
Mm.
simple. Our
Yeah.
emotions come and make things more interesting. They add richness, and they give good information, but ultimately they can also distract us, right? So I would imagine that we both know what's right, so we do the right thing, and if we don't do what's right, it gets worse. And if
Yeah.
it's consistently getting worse, we're probably not doing the right thing, so we should shift, right? That was like my worldview, and I just assumed that even though Renee didn't really operate that way, that she'd eventually clock on to that's how things should work, and she should
Sure.
just adjust the way that she's operating because it's not working for her.
Yeah.
But the penny dropped of like, look, at the end of the day, Renee will do what she feels like doing,
Mm.
like 9 times out of 10, 95 times out of 100. And I so wished it wouldn't be the case because I can see it doesn't, in my view, it doesn't work. It doesn't make her feel happy. It doesn't help us feel happy. And I can see all these different things she could do, right? But she's going to do what she feels like doing. And I just had to accept that that was the case. And maybe that would never change. Maybe that's kind of how she is, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe that's how we all are. Maybe we're actually humans and we're emotional beings. I was like, oh, but hang on. And I got freaked out. As soon as I came to that quasi acceptance, I was like, but hang on. I don't know how to influence someone's emotions. I don't play that game. I like
Mm.
push away from, influence based sales or pressuring someone. I'm sure I've done it from time to time unintentionally, but
Sure.
I really try not. I'm probably afraid of being too pushy or whatever like that,
Mm.
trying to be the nice guy or the likable person or just trying to do the right thing, be a good person. And so I was like, but that way of accepting the world makes me feel weak. I didn't like it. And gladly I was on the phone with someone who I trust and respect. I'm like, hey man, I need help. I need to learn how to do this game. Everything from just like romance through to persuasion, through to masculine leadership,
Yeah.
strength, being a container, having frame, having something to offer, being able to hold my frame despite someone's emotions and let them
Mm.
anchor themselves to me eventually. I didn't know how to do that. It hadn't been role model to me. And I'm still learning, but I'll tell you what, learning those skills, and to me, I see them as just skills. Those skills I lacked. I didn't have the orientation to learn them, but I'm like, okay, I need to learn this now. So I spent a lot of time with ChatGPT. Mostly, he's my main coach and trainer.
Same.
Right. We all do it now, pretty much. Pretty much all business
Great.
owners have realized, like, we're using it for work all the time. Why don't we just apply it in the home life, right? Is that,
Precisely. Yeah.
did you do business first and then work second, or did you actually start with personal stuff first
I started with
before you?
business first, and my mentor showed me how to use it properly. And then I was like, oh, I
Right.
might just give this a go. And like
I might just,
actually
yeah,
like every morning, I'm like journal prompt for the day. And like I just love how it starts to use the same words as like you do. Because sometimes I'd be like, tweak this or make it spicy. And like, is this spicy enough? And like it's just so cool. I love it.
it knows you, Tracy.
Yeah.
Got your heart.
It does. Yeah, it does. It's really bad. My Tracy, it is Chat GPT. Like, watch yourself. But it's so helpful, right? Because sometimes it might say something that just, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, like I needed that for today, right? So I think
Yeah,
it's really powerful.
yeah, me too. Oh, it's
Mm,
been it's been great. I've had to obviously inform it and give it good sources,
same.
give it a really clear message. And
Mm.
do you notice this? It's slippery. It constantly creeps up on it. It starts becoming really friendly and like affirming your weak ways and like, hey, I asked you to be
Yes.
a coach. Get hard with me, man. Like that's soft.
It's fascinating. Have you asked it? I think the prompt is, tell me things that you've learned about me, and then it'll
Yeah,
actually spit it back. And I was like, whoa, it's actually very, very scary. So pretty
yeah.
much like
It gets us.
95% spot on.
I see that as well. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I digress. Carry on.
No, well, look, that was a big part of it, right? That's the
Mm.
video montage where it's like, oh, having to do the work, and I have to admit, for the majority of the next couple of months, almost every message I sent to Renee was like run through ChatGPT first,
Okay.
with a couple of edits on my end, and it got to a point. It was quite interesting. Within a few weeks, um, if we had a conflict together, she would like head off to a room and text me because she knew that she'd get this really like loving, nurturing, strong, kind of interesting, a bit more spicy
Yeah.
text message
No
back.
fluff.
Well, yeah, not this like defensive, annoying, weak, triggering guy that she has to
Yeah.
deal with day to day. And obviously, you can't just live by a text message. I had to try and like play it out properly.
Sure.
Um, and
Which
that's
kind of
that's been
diffuses
more
the
challenging.
emotion a bit, right? Like instead of like, being head on, you kind of step away. And then even if it is over like a text, it kind of takes some of the
Yeah,
heat out of the argument or conversation.
yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, she wants connection. There's no question that she
Of
wants a bit of that.
course.
That's part of
Mm,
what the whole thing's. That's why we have the pattern, in many ways. Because I've been, I,
sure.
I don't like this term, but I guess I've been depriving her of a sense of emotional connection, right?
Yeah, without
So one
realizing
way that,
though.
without realizing exactly,
Mm,
but causing conflict is one way to reliably get some connection, right? The feeling of emotions
totally.
connecting. So that's our dance. That's the dance we created. We co-created.
So like a pattern.
Yeah.
Tristan, I want to ask about masculine leadership because I do, I think there's a lot of, I want to say, hype around toxic masculinity. And I think guys are copying quite the raw end of the stick at the moment. Did you want to share your thoughts on masculine leadership with us, please?
It feels like magic.
Yeah.
From the autistic mind, it's like from a mind that didn't embrace it, understand it, or know how to use it, right?
Mm,
Um, it felt like I got this skill, which all of a sudden has the ability to completely change how other people experience their life
mm,
in a powerful, positive way. Because that's what I'm focused on primarily.
sure.
And I know it can be used in a powerful, negative way as well. I just haven't really explored that. I'm guessing that's why it's been given the label of toxic masculinity. I've not really explored that
Yeah.
question too much. It's sad that
Sure.
that's the case. But my focus
Mm,
this year has been how can I gain the skill and use it to help make things better? No question. And it's feels like magic with my kids. I was already doing elements of it with the kids, but my ability to be a firm and consistent, but loving and soft at the same time, father to them has just like exponentiated. And I was always pretty good at helping them relegate, not really, like when they get a little bit of a wobbly. But it happens so much more consistently now, and I know that they both have. I've seen them deal with some of their stresses and you could say traumas this last
sure.
6 months so much better because I've been able to create a space for them and template something for them, which I can see them doing for each other even now.
Great.
Right?
Yes, it's kind of domino effect, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels like magic. For the last few years, I've been craving the desire to help people find peace and freedom, pretty much enjoy their life,
Mm,
right? And that's been largely fueled by, seeing it not be there for Renee and wanting to be able to offer it to her and not knowing how to do it. And now that I feel I've got a pathway to help her and help us collectively and my kids, I can see that it's actually the same set of tools and skills that I need to be giving my clients, my friends. And uh, I think there's some beautiful voices out there online, podcasters like yourself, who are putting a lot
thank
of time
you.
and effort to sharing this effective message of the
Mm,
power of masculine leadership done well. And I feel really motivated to assist that in some way. I think I'm still in
great.
the 101 class at the moment, still just trying to like get on top of the basics. And I'm trying to focus on obviously my family. Um, I've got some beautiful business partners, mostly younger guys who I
Yeah.
get to mentor in that sense. And I've got a whole new renewed sense of what I have to offer them, and what leading them into becoming leaders themselves looks like. There's always the technical side of their craft, and then there's the business and building the team and these other things.
Sure.
But at the bottom of whatever I'm doing for them is equipping them with masculine leadership that I wasn't role modeled or given, so that they can then role model and give it to their team, and then ultimately to their clients, and then multiply it into the world. And
Yes.
I would say a bit early in the piece, but my perspective is that the number one thing that the world is missing right now is healthy masculine leadership.
I
And
agree.
I think it's the number one solution to the majority of the world's issues.
100% agree with that.
You do?
I do, yeah. Like I said, I think guys are getting a pretty bad, I'm Brad, bad rap at the moment. Firstly, thank you for sharing your point of view. And I think what's really beautiful is that by you embracing your own journey, you've kind of having this impact on everyone else, which will impact, their relationships, especially with young guys,
Yeah.
impact their relationships, their business, because yes, there's been such a swing in the a different direction. And I think, male, female, we balance and we don't. And we give each other the power. Females, in my mind, should let men sit in the masculinity, and men should give, women that space to sit in their femininity. And some women are more masculine and vice versa. But it's that constant pendulum, right? But it doesn't mean like one has to be more empowered than the other, and one has to be put to the side to let the female empowerment shine. So yeah, I'm really glad we brought this up, because I think there has been such a shift, and I don't think it's a healthy shift either.
So I put a little bit of thought into how we got this far, and it's a bit of a pot shot, but in short, I think since the 1800s, there's been just a slow degradation. And I don't know how it was before then, as far as I could really get my head around, but I think the Industrial Revolution to me was the beginning of a steep descent away from family units with some level of masculine leadership. What
Sure.
happened was you got men moving away, leaving families behind, and doing the whole like send your money back, and that was a disconnection, I guess,
Yeah.
and it's created a vacuum. And I think this vacuum is what I've noticed has been perpetuated. That vacuum doesn't stay the way it is. Women will always step in and fill the void because they're
Yeah.
not going to let the household fall apart. Men sometimes do, but women just like step in and make it happen. That's what I've noticed. And so
Mm.
then in the early 1900s, you had the First World War, and I dug up a bunch of stats. It works out that approximately one third of the male, like family age population, um, were deceased in that period. And
Right.
of those that come back, about one third of the survivors were traumatized with shell shock or some equivalent, right?
Mm.
Which is a massive deficit.
Huge.
It's just a
Huge.
same vacuum, right? And then
Mm.
you had the same thing happen again in World War II. Exactly the same stats. Effectively, a third of the family age population of men killed, and then a third of those survivors were shell shocked again, or they call it
Yeah.
PTSD, right? And the
Yes.
various other things since then. And so just multiple, like they have three massive events and spread out over time. And then there was already things pushing women into that vacuum. But then you had,
Mm.
the pill and the feminist movement, and all that to me is just a natural resurgence of some presence to take that leadership because it was effectively abandoned by the masculine, broadly speaking. And it's not super healthy, but something
Mm.
needed to happen. You can't have a vacuum of leadership within the household, right? And the men that were trying to do leadership just were either vacant in themselves, or they
Yeah.
were, had problems and couldn't really carry out the responsibilities and provide care and security and the things that we all want.
Mm.
Um, so I see those major events as sort of defining us Western civilization.
Makes sense.
And I don't see any significant catalyst that's brought men back into that position of leadership. If
Mm.
anything, if you look at overall testosterone levels across civilization, and I don't know if that's purely diet, but the psychological aspects have to be informed by that pattern, by
Mm.
women stepping into the leadership role and men just kind of being, I don't know if they were squeezed out or if they just moved out. They felt disconnected and felt incapable. That's largely how I felt,
Yeah.
incapable, not for lack of desire. I wanted to be in the leadership role, always have, just didn't know how to do it. Like, oh, well, I'll just do me on the side.
Yeah.
And the magic for me is that you and I talked before the show started about how the algorithm, like the social media algorithm, can really
Yes.
hack us. It can start distorting what we watch and listen to, but also what we post because it'll
Totally.
reward us with views when we do the right sort of thing,
Yes.
according to it, not according to our morals or
Mm.
according to our intentions. It's just if we give it what it wants, it gives us views, and then we do more of it. That's typically how it works, right? We're
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
hackable like that.
Mm.
And I think because men and women interact in such a organic way with each other, there's always going to be this hackable ability for a man to influence a woman, and vice versa.
Mm.
Women can
Yeah.
influence a man a lot as well in different ways, right?
Mm.
Traditionally through beauty and sex appeal and these sorts of things. A man offers strength and security traditionally, and when done well and healthily, that's what I've been observing in my life. It's magic. It changes people's behavior and their intentions and their overall level of security. And I'm wondering, like, at what point do we as a civilization catalyze some sort of resurgence of men to do that? And I'd love to know what the answer is. I'm just focused on my little microcosm for now, but I'd love to be
Yeah.
part of that kind of like that push to make that reality. Because I think that's where the breakthrough of our civilization to the next level will have to come.
I'm goosebumping as you talk. I think it's really, really great that you are, being that voice for that change as well.
Well, yeah, I'm one of many, and I'm so glad that you kind of resonate with these ideas. Even as I'm
Yeah.
saying them, I know these are, they're taboo topics, right?
Oh,
Even
safe
just
space.
noting that safe space, thanks. No, noting that we have a role as men to step up and lead
Mm,
is an uncomfortable reality, I would say. Theory, perspective, whatever. Um, and therefore, we can kind of just leave it. And I would say in business, these podcasts are a lot about business, right? I would say business is probably the best environment for us to practice it.
yeah.
Obviously, it's more relevant at home, but it's safe place at business because whether we're the boss, we're the CEO, we've got a team, we got staff, we got clients. We're leading all the time. But how are we doing it? Are
Mm,
we doing it in the ways that breed the sort of culture that our family needs, or have we disassociated the business world and given it a new set of rules that operate different from the family unit? Because that's been my experience. The business typically has a whole different set of rules. What is it?
yeah.
There's no emotions. You don't bring emotions to work. Women don't talk about cycles,
Yeah.
right? There's no excusing certain types of emotional behavior, or there's too much excusing and avoidance. There's not firm boundaries and principles. And it's
Mm,
rarely that there's both firm boundaries and principles with depth, understanding, and kindness at the same time. Now, there are some workplaces that have both, and they're beautiful. They're the transformation ones. But where do you find those sorts of things? And on
true.
large, that's what I'm trying to build. That's what all of our companies are trying to aim for as much as we can.
Mm. And I think some of the brilliant men that I know, they do, they do lead and they do have that drive, but they also have, like you said earlier, it's that balance between that masculine energy, but still having like a loving, approachable side. And I think they've got that really down pat. And what they do is that they help you become a better person. And same for women.
Right.
Like, women will have that same those same traits that helps a man lead and do what he does better. But I think it's such a beautiful partnership or relationship between the two because you really actually bring out the best in both men and women, right?
I see that. Yeah,
Mm.
it's kind of cool. Like I got very annoyed at how I said hackable we are, at how like algorithmic or predictable in some ways we are.
Well,
I don't
true.
like that. I wanted it to
Mm.
all be like natural, organic, and unique, and we're all special. But I think increasingly I've realized we're very programmable. We can
Completely.
program ourselves, we can program one another, and that's
Mm.
scary.
Very scary.
But when we recognize it, it's like, well, we can use that to our benefit and make things better. But you got to work with the program. You got to understand
Mm.
how the program works. Like what I
Mm.
hated, people in the stock market. I'm a financial advisor. People invariably buy when the market is peaky, when it's right up the top, and they
Yeah.
sell when it's right near the bottom. Right? It's just like what I
Mm.
hated. This the majority of humans will do that. And it sucks. You lose a lot of money when you do that, but the market works that way. That's kind of how our emotional system is, and to
Yes.
know that is the first step to making wise financial decisions. Right? If you
Mm.
don't recognize that, you will never make money. And
Mm.
I think being a trader, being an investor, is actually a beautiful lens on this whole scenario because you can't get away from it. You
Mm.
have to realize your fallibility and either completely deny it and squish it away and then act robotically, which is hard, or work with it. And one
Yes.
of my best mates, he meditates before he trades every time. And when
Okay.
he doesn't get the same results
Interesting.
because of lack of the
Yeah.
presence and the awareness, which enables being able to work with his
Mm.
relatively high emotional system.
Yeah.
Interesting, right?
So interesting. And I think especially for women out there, one thing I had to watch myself is because yes, we're strong, independent women and we have a business and we're going. But at the same time,
Right.
if you're not careful, like you almost take that I want to say masculine energy away from a guy because if he wants to hold the door for you and you tell him not to, like it's taking that away from him. He wants to be your hero, so let him hold the freaking door, or carry your bags. Because before I say like, no, don't worry about my bag or don't do that. And I was like, no, you actually need to because that's nature, right? It's like it makes him feel that sense of I don't know, being a hero or that masculine leadership. And then on the same part, obviously, for a guy, he does the same for a woman. But being a very strong-willed lady myself, I
Yes.
had to watch myself because you can't take that away from a guy because then, you say, well, oh, why isn't he doing X, Y, Z, or why isn't he making a move? But in some ways, and again, I'm just speaking from experience, we almost take that away from a man and then we wonder why he's not doing it. So we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot, really.
That makes sense to me. I
Yeah.
wonder from your perspective, Tracy, what do you feel you give a man when you give him the chance to open the door for you, right?
I think it's that magic that you speak about because I've noticed that the time, and I had to catch myself because I am, I'm just wired in a way where, you want to lead and be independent. And at the same time, we don't always have to be that way. So when I started watching myself and
Mm,
would let a guy do those things, it's just like that magic that happens. And, it's, I'm trying to put it into words. It's just, yeah, I think magic, as you described it, is the way I would put it. But it's just, and I know balance doesn't exist, but it's just something really beautiful, right? It's like the two sexes kind of like just acknowledging each other, right? Like I don't have
yeah.
to get the door or say no, or if someone, if a guy gives up his chair for you and he's been chivalrous, like take the chair. Don't be like, oh no, it's fine, I'll just stand for an hour on the bus and go flying down the cabin. So yeah, I think it's and again, it's not like a hate against the sexes and that sort of thing, but I think as women, we do need to be mindful of how we do, allow men to lead, and same for guys as well. Like we
Mm.
need to be mindful of both how each sex is wired and how we can bring out the best in each other, I think.
I think so. I'm trying to remember the times it happened to me. And it's strange. It feels like I click into a mode. Firstly, I feel great. I feel
Mm,
wonderful when I get the chance to help a woman. If she's
yes.
ungrateful and or critical of it, but sort of accepts it, frustratedly, then I don't feel this at all. It's got to have some level of,
Yeah.
proper gratitude. Let's say a connection moment. But it
Sure.
doesn't take much. Just literally accepting the offer is like 80% of the story, right? And
Definitely.
then and not
Yeah.
being like critical about it, let's say. That's
Mm.
probably actually the base ingredients. And it makes me feel like needed, valuable,
See,
special. I don't know why. All of a sudden, I feel like I'm valued by that person in particular. And
100%.
and if she's a beautiful person, then all the more I feel like $1 million, right? Not
Yeah.
that I'm trying to take her anywhere or like make a relationship with her. She could
No.
be like 86 or a beautiful 25-year-old, and I can be
Yeah,
married or I can be single. It doesn't make a difference. It makes me feel like I'm valued by someone beautiful. And that makes
definitely.
me feel more valuable. And then instinctively, I feel oriented to serve. I'm like, what can I do to help? And
Yeah.
I would imagine if I was a woman and I was afraid generally and insecure and needed strength to be able to like hold my own, but wish that someone could help take the load off because it's so freaking hard. If that was my vibe
Mm.
and I had the power to make men around me feel like they wanted to serve and help, I'd be like,
Yeah,
cool. I can pull that. I can,
totally. And
I
it's
can
just
use that to my
reoccurring
right.
good. And even as a woman, when a guy holds the door or wants to help with your bags, like you feel good as well because you're like, oh my gosh, this is so nice. Someone, a stranger, has taken their time out to help me, who's is holding the door for me or, helping
Mm,
with my bags or my shopping that I got. So I think it's just really beautiful. And I think maybe it's just as a society have stopped doing that or just even giving someone a compliment, like, oh my goodness, if you give someone a compliment, guy, girl, whatever, like that person's face literally lights up. And,
yeah, that's
you
wonderful.
never know what that person's going through. They could be having the shittest time of their life.
Yeah,
And every time I've done it, like you just see someone's face light up. I just think it's really beautiful.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll share one like slightly related story. This was something with my
Mm.
daughter just a couple of weeks ago. I've been realizing how it's not just the like the smile that someone sees. It's the thing that a shift within myself that potentially they don't even see. So
Mm.
my daughter had had a sad moment and she'd headed off to like a little beanbag to have a little pout. And I
Sure.
asked if I could come sit with her. And she didn't say no, but she wasn't ready for any closeness or connection. But she was happy to have me around. And previously, I would have been like, oh, you're not responding to me. Maybe you don't want me here. I might just head
Yeah.
off. I've
Mm.
since learned that no, she benefits from me just being physically there and not needing, wanting, pushing, requesting anything. Just be like an anchor for her.
Mm.
And I wouldn't have had a framework. Like, what difference would my body be next to her? She's not even facing me. Like,
See.
but I've noticed these things make a difference. But I
Mm.
was there, and I think I asked her a question like about, do you want to share what's going on, or and she didn't respond. And I waited for about 20 seconds, thinking, what's the next question I ask? What's the next strategy to help her, soften? But then I realized, oh, I'm really needing her to react right now, aren't I? And I just sort of did that and got out of the headspace of need and back into just a present space immediately. The moment that I released my breath and shifted, and it wasn't a deep breath as well, like she might have heard it, but probably not. She hopped up, grabbed her little cuddly, and came over and came right in for a
Oh
little
my
cuddle.
goodness. Yeah, see.
And this is the magic I
Vibrations
mean.
change.
Like, yeah, it's like she didn't see it. Maybe like, yeah, it's something people call it vibrations, right? Whatever's going
Yeah,
on there, we sense what's
always.
going on, and it makes a
Completely.
difference. And as a dad, that's the most beautiful thing when you can offer that to your kid, you know.
Yeah, or to anyone.
Mm.
Yeah, but the vibrations are real. It's like I'll sometimes have a friend on my mentor phone, and especially my mentor will be like, Tracy, you okay? The vibrations feel off. And I'm like, how did you know? I'm having like a really shit day. So it's funny how we
Beautiful.
can kind of all sense each other, right? We're on
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
like wavelength. So I always talk about the vibes.
The vibes. It's
The
great.
vibes, yeah.
Mm.
Tristan, you often work with clients who are losing themselves while doing good work. What does it actually look like behind closed doors, and how do you guide them?
Um, well, there's a lot of things that we do for our clients. Mostly it's on the financial front, right? Or at least that's
Mm,
the focus of our work. So we're helping people clarify their goals, what they want,
yes.
identify where they are, and then come up with strategies to get there. That's the simple way to put what we do. And
Yes.
all the technical financial fun comes in the strategies, but all the power comes in the clarifying where they want to be and where they are, because they're the two things that most of us don't have connection with. So I guess behind closed doors, that's the main part of it. Um, we spend a whole bunch of time researching strategies and doing due diligence on cool technical things and finding out ways to beat the banks in their own game and get extra leverage and achieve outsized returns. And I enjoy that sort of thing. Gets me
Mm,
excited. Some people like that. But then once you come up with a new strategy, you can roll it out pretty quickly with clients as long as they trust what we have to offer, right?
yeah.
And we have to educate our clients on this is why it works and this is how we'll do it. But generally, they're like, that makes sense or that doesn't. And then we just do it. And the technical side happens very quickly. Transactions happen really quick. The behind closed doors time is mostly spent hearing people's story and helping them bring awareness to what's going on in themselves and where they want to be.
Mm,
And yeah, a lot of it's envisioning the future. Like we do a lot of vision activities and identifying limiting beliefs. Um, a lot of the times, so we try not to be therapists. That's one thing we try not to do.
sure.
But we want to help people address their mindset. So um, I like this sort of approach that one of my good mates, Roy, taught me of you just encourage them on their path for the most important next thing, and you wait until they hit an emotional wall, like a freak out moment or
Oh, and it
limitation.
does happen. It does happen.
If it doesn't, they're not really trying anything meaningful, right? Or
Mm,
they don't need you. They may as well just go up and do it themselves.
yeah,
So
true.
they'll hit some sort of fear. They don't want to make the call for the sale, or they they were supposed to see you on the Tuesday and they rescheduled the meeting to Saturday so they could blow extra money on the Wednesday at an event they wanted to go to, right? And they feel guilty first thing on the meeting on the Saturday, like, hey, I just got to tell you this thing happened. It's like,
Yes.
cool, what was going on there? Let's bring awareness to it, right? So it's great. You don't have to go digging into their childhood wounds of the past. You
Mm,
just deal with the stuff that surfaces, and then
sure.
invariably it's linked to their childhood stuff. But um, yeah, bringing time and space. Like you said, this is a safe space, right? I think that's probably one
Mm,
of the main things that we do. We create a safe space for them to bring awareness, and then a lot of the time, I find the magic happens in their own life. They come out of the
mm,
session with a couple of action items from me. We maybe sort out a couple of strategic things with their finances, and then they come back and like, hey, I just landed this new customer, or here, I've just come up with this new way of budgeting. It's working really well.
mm,
And a lot of the gold happens when they implement revelations they've got themselves from their own awareness.
yeah. I know you've mentioned before that business can be a spiritual path. What does that look like in real life?
Um, yeah, I find questions about spirituality difficult just because I don't know what it
That's okay.
means. Yeah.
What it means to you.
Um, what it means to me is the stuff we don't understand.
Mm,
So
I
yeah,
love
in
it.
that sense, right. And we kind of incline towards it, even though we don't understand it, we're not afraid from it, like we want
Yeah.
something of it. So I think that, yeah, like business is a lot about faith.
Mm,
Everything the entrepreneur does has to be by faith. Otherwise, they're an employee doing someone else's job.
yeah.
So I think by definition, it's baked in. I like there's a lot of agnostic to atheistic style entrepreneurs out there, but I think they would all agree that faith is a fundamental precept of the entrepreneurship
Yeah.
path. And it's exciting and living in that
Yeah.
space of seeing the future as if it's the present, you know? So, and there's a spirituality to bringing the future into the present, like a builder's spirituality, I guess you could say,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, with high energy and drive. And whilst I think that's the universal part of spiritual business, I think the path for me is a lot more what we talked about in the first half of this conversation around what does it mean to be in my masculine as a leader. And ultimately, like I think I shared with you in our first chat, my mission in life is really simple: is to be a father.
Yeah.
And it stands to reason if I want to be a father, I've got to be a good man. Like that's the baseline of being a father, right? Both to my
Yeah.
husband, to my wife, sorry, as a husband, and then to my kids, and then ultimately beyond that. So I think my spiritual calling is coming to understand this weird divine nature of the masculine
Mm.
and the feminine, because I think masculine and feminine only exist in correlation to each other. If there
Yeah.
was no feminine, there'd be no masculine, right?
Yeah.
The
100%.
definition is actually the what parts of us are different from the other. So learning the stuff that I don't understand and having faith that standing next to my daughter will make a difference. Um,
Mm.
Having faith that taking space with my client when they come in anxiously wanting to buy a property next week, and my instinct is like, we've got to slow this down.
Right.
um, it's like I don't know why they're paying me and they want to buy a property and we can buy them a property, but I feel this gut of like we need to slow this down. Leaning into that and forging a conversation with them to help unpack what's going on. And then finding out that 6 weeks later, there was a couple of things that needed to happen before they invest in anything.
Oh,
And they're grateful and they're raving about it, saying, I'm so glad we had this conversation.
yeah.
They did it. Um, so yeah, that wasn't a very clear description, but I guess it's just a taste of it, right?
Of course. And do you find that that gut feeling intuition has gotten stronger? Because I think my business journey has led me down a massive spiritual path. I believe God in God more than I ever did before. But I
Right.
just find like sometimes you just get such a strong sense of something. And it
Mm,
I used to get it, but not by the same level. And I just find every time I've got it and I've listened or I've gone against it, I've learned the
mm.
hard way.
Wow.
Do you find it's gotten stronger as you
Yeah,
kind of,
it
yeah,
has.
right. Interesting. Interesting. Because I've definitely noticed, wow, it'll just be like a random thought. And
Yeah.
then something will happen and it'll bring that thought back. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like what is happening right now?
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
feel like a kid in those moments because I feel so inclined to do something with it. Like if I feel an instinct to slow things down or to ask a question,
Yes.
I have a natural check and balance within me. So from doing a lot of personality study, there's this concept of the intuitive versus the sensory. If anyone's done
Mm,
mind Briggs, they'll be familiar with the terms. The intuitive likes to look for patterns, like constantly joining dots all the time.
sure.
They don't really care for the details. They just like, oh, I can see that pattern. Whereas the sensory is focused on the fact, the information, like the specifics. You can talk like about the show details all night long and the soccer
Mm,
match results and what she wore and da da da. And whereas on the Friday night, the intuitive person is mostly trying to talk about these concepts and these ideas and these patterns,
yeah.
right? Entrepreneurs can be very successful whether it's sensory focused or
Yeah.
pattern focused. But I'm significantly pattern focused to a fault. So I'll notice patterns straight away with like one half of a bit of data. And like,
Right.
if you've got two dots, you can draw a line, right? But it doesn't mean you've got a
Yeah.
pattern. It's just two dots. If you've got three dots and they all line up, there's something there now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
rare
Of
that three
course.
dots all make a line. But still,
Mm,
like maybe it's a curve that goes like this. Maybe it's not a straight
mm,
line. So you can't assume it's linear. So the smart way to look at this would be like, okay, I've got 3 points. How about I get 17 more? We've got 20 now. And if they're all still in a line, then we've probably got something. It could be like
yeah.
a wavy line like this, but it's probably going to run through them all. So
Mm.
my instinct is just to jump at the three dots or even the two. And so I'm always teaching myself, like, Tristan, hold back, ask a few more questions. take it. Maybe you're not right. Like, gather more data, get
For
more
sure.
sensory, rather than leaning on my instinct. But I like hearing you. I think it's beautiful that you've got like this prophetic, intuitive style of gift, and that
Oh,
you mostly lean
thank
into
you.
it, and that it's like it's enriching itself, right? It's
So
getting
true.
more
Yeah.
useful, more accurate, more effective. Is that what you're saying?
It is. Yeah. Like I had an incident. It was with my business, and I just had this, it was with hiring someone. I thought, oh, I just had this really like strong feeling not to do it. And anyway, I
Mm,
always check in with myself, is my ego getting in the way? Because the business, you have to let go a lot, right? Because
right.
everyone needs me, not the case. So I was checking in with myself, is it my ego that's getting in the way? You know, I need to really like just assess the situation and step back. I thought, no, I think I'm just getting in my own way. So kind of spoke myself out of it, took the person on, and yeah, I learned the hard way. So I think it was just a lesson to me that if I ever feel that way again, it's there for a reason. I believe it's God, the universe, my grand, everyone talking to me. Sounds a bit out there, but yeah, I just had such a strong like visceral feeling not to, and then I
Yeah.
negotiated
Yeah.
myself out of it, and then I learned the very expensive hard way, and I was like, damn it, Tracy. So I think for me, it's just been a lesson of like leaning more into that because, sometimes
Yeah.
I think we think, oh, just been silly or you've been a fruitcake or you're just imagining things. But that right there really, and it's happened before, I think that whole incident right there just spoke volumes to me. So, and it sounds like it's the same for you, like with that client you mentioned who, you sort of had this feeling to not buy. Was it a house, did you say?
Yeah. He's wanted to buy an investment property. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just noticed those the vibes just get stronger as you go, and I think also when you step in more into your calling and where it is and what it is that you're meant to be doing, I think those experiences become a lot more prominent. So
I think so. One thing I've noticed is that when there's more processes, and more maturity, that has diminished
mm,
in my life.
yes,
It's almost like the need for the intuition brings out the intuition. So when I'm in a brand new arena or a new sort of situation or it's early in a relationship, that's when the
mm,
intuition is most likely to pronounce itself because I'm very systemic in my mind. Once I already
yes,
have guardrails and structures and do like, when I'm hiring someone, we call at least two references and you do the YouTube search and the
same.
LinkedIn search. Like,
Mm,
right. So when doing that, there's kind of less room for an instinct. So it's less
mm,
likely to come.
got it.
And I find myself over time crowding out space for, you could call it the spiritual,
Mm,
for the sake of process, I guess,
yeah, I do the
which is
same.
is that I see it as maturity. I think that's actually how we're called to grow. I
Mm,
don't know if it's relevant for most listeners, but in the Old Testament, the people of Israel wandered in the desert for like 40 years, and according to
yes,
the story, they ate birds that fell to the ground and ate bread from the ground, and they were guided by like a fire, and a smoke, and their clothes kind of never wore out. They were kind of in this magical period where
yeah.
everything was provided for them. They were like little infants needing the
Mm,
provider of a daddy god. And then they got to the promised land, and then they had to like till the soil and like plant grain and look after cows and this sort of things.
yeah,
And obviously that's growth and maturity, and you don't need as much miracles when you're
mm,
in that stage. So you don't go hungry, you don't go looking for it as much.
true.
Um,
Mm.
and I remember those times in my teens and 20s, I was in a Christian environment. I had a lot of that sort of thing going literally around my life, and lots of my friends had like
Mm.
checks in the mail peering out of the blue, people getting miraculous
Yeah.
healings. I was
Mm.
praying for people and I saw people healed. People had depressive episodes that had believed in it. Just cool stuff,
So
right?
cool. Yeah.
That doesn't
Yeah.
happen to me very much anymore, except for when I'm desperate and in need.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why entrepreneurship is so spiritual, because we're pushing out to the edge where we're kind of needy and in
And
the
the
blue,
unknown.
right?
Mm.
Unknown.
Mm.
And so I love it. I want more of that in my own life. Hearing you share that, Tracy, is like, yeah, I want to actually push beyond my my comfort zones increasingly. I do want to do the due diligence and check because that's part of my
Of
maturity of like when I
course.
need to do
Yeah.
that. But
Mm.
I don't want to cripple my life with too much structure that I miss out on the prophetic, I think.
Yeah. I needed to hear that. Thank you. My calendar is structured like a rainbow. So
Oh, at least there's color in there.
it's a lot of color.
Yeah.
Oh, Tristan, I love our conversation so much.
Yeah.
I am mindful of
Likewise.
time. I know you have to go, but we will have to book you in for 2026. I
Great.
love everything that you share. I completely do not even use my question set because our combo is always so
Yeah,
great.
we just do this like my patterns.
Yeah, completely, completely. But
Yeah,
I'm so happy for you to see, your energy and where things are going. And I think it's just so inspirational that Renee and you are doing the hard yards. A lot of people would just say, nah, I'm not doing and tap out. So you guys are an inspiration. And yeah, I just love the path that you're on. And yes, come back next year, please.
great, Tracy. I'm looking forward to seeing what great height you're elevating to next time I catch you.
Thank you, Tristan. Where's the best place for our listeners to go should they wish to connect with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn. If you pop on purposeadvisory.com.au, that's my main business. We're doing financial advice, business coaching, and life coaching. And I've got a couple of other businesses, mostly in the same space, helping businesses, entrepreneurs themselves, and mums and dads build wealth, make great decisions in their wealth, their life, and their business.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, guys, we'll pop the links in the show notes below. Tristan, thank you so much for all that you've shared. Like I say, we have to have this regular yearly podcast.
Let's do it. Yeah, you can document my life for me, and you
Yeah.
can piece it together at
Hey,
some point.
yeah. Sounds good. You can have like a movie night and watch all five of them.
Do the good montage. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Totally. Thank you so much.
Great, Tracy. Have a good one. Ciao.